We'll be back from the break. You're still watching Smart Men's Business. I'm Andrew Barigi. It's exactly 5 minutes past 9 a.m. Well, right about now, as we head straight into our insight, remember, it's the budget week. And of course, we are concluding, rather, it's the budget month, and we are concluding, we're into the final week. That is of the budget, and we've been having quite lots of topics in relation to budget allocations from the different experts, and that is in the different sector. But of course, before we get into this discussion this morning, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform, which have already opened as I speak right now. Now, for you to be a part of this, it's very simple. Start 292 hash is the USSD code that will enable you to have access to these markets. And you'll be able to buy government bonds and securities for as little as 15,000 you get in shillings. Now, the markets open at 8:15 a.m. and they close at 3:15 p.m. effective Monday up to Friday, except on the weekends and the public holidays when these markets can't be accessed. But despite the fact you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself quite some huge money as a trader right there. Like I always say, this is a way to offset your possible trade deficits that you might have incurred as a result of the week. Zabo made this a reality. There is no paperwork. Simply get your mobile phone, whether it's a button phone, whether it's a smartphone, just dial *292 hash. The rest will be history, and you will be in position to buy bonds and securities. Now, Zabo says, my money, my future. And Autox East Africa says, do something new for yourself come the year 2023. Well, now getting straight into our discussion this morning, I'm joined with Darius Motasi. He's the Business Development Manager, Nagsoft Technologies, as we're going to be breaking down the aspects of the budget allocation for the ICT sector. Good morning, Mr. Darius. You're welcome on SMB.
Good morning, Andrew. I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, and greetings from Nagsoft Technologies.
All right. Very, very amazing in there. And now, of course, we're heading straight into the discussion of ICT budget. You know, we've been looking at the different sectors, and we see ICT, which is quite a pivotal, I believe it's a pivotal sector and very key, most especially when it comes to where the world is heading right now.
Sure.
In your observation, if we take a look at what was allocated, is it sufficient enough for the sector?
Well, Andrew, I think, is it sufficient? No.
It's not sufficient.
And to achieve sufficiency would be very hard for a sector like ours. It's very hard for even those countries that are up there, the developed countries. It's hard to achieve sufficiency. But in our case, it's worse. Because it's as you mentioned, ICT is a very pivotal sector. There is no MDA you'll go to without finding the need for ICT or ICT products. And that means the role that ICT plays in this kind of sector is enormous. And to bring that to perspective is when you're looking at, for example, security, defense, trade, wherever you go, you're going to find the need for an IT service or a product that eases or creates efficiency in that area. Now, to get into such an area and then allocate, for example, they allocated about 25.1 trillion that's being shared across the different sectors.
The different sectors,
of course, besides the financing of data and all that. The 25.1 trillion that is shared across all sectors, IT is taking much less than a trillion. And that is collectively across all sectors, because IT, I think there was an allocation of about 197 billion towards digital transformation. There was an allocation of about 257 billion towards science, innovation and technology development. But remember that 257 billion is shared by vaccine research. There is automotive industry manufacturing or automotive industry growth. And then within IT, we are only looking at chipset and robotics manufacturing. Which is a good area, by the way, because we are headed into machine learning and AI. As Nagsoft, we are exploring that area. For example, in one of our products, Clinic Plus, we are looking at integrating AI. And in all these others, we are moving steadily towards that. In school monitor and post-crim, we are looking at that also. But so far, we piloted it in Clinic Plus, and we see that the potential of AI and machine learning is big. So for an allocation to also cover chipset and robotics manufacturing, we see this is something that is going to help us. But again, looking at 197 billion for digital transformation, 257 billion for science, innovation and technology development, of which ICT is only a sub-component, I don't see much compared to the value that ICT brings to this economy. Yeah, because I'll give you an example. We are spending so much as ICT companies. Yeah, okay, every company spends, but the uniqueness about ICT spending is that we do not only spend locally. Paying Google, I'm paying Microsoft, we're paying Azure, we are paying, like, you have so many players out there that are sending money to, and the government is collecting from each of these. One of the communications from the minister during the budget speech was that they are expanding the VAT tax, the value-added tax. They are amending it to expand the scope of electronic services on which VAT can be levied. And in those electronic services they mentioned, there was advertising platforms, streaming platforms, cloud storage, and data warehousing. Okay. So for an IT company, where that, for example, we provide cloud services, we strongly encourage cloud because we want to extend the efficiency that people need. I want to be home and know what was made at my business yesterday. Exactly. I do not need to be at the school to know how much has been collected. I do not need to be at the hospital to know how long people are spending to be served. Okay. That's for example, the turnaround time. In Clinic Plus, you don't need to be at the facility. You can stay at home and in your other business or at the facility where you serve, and then you look at your personal facility. You just log in and you'll know Andrew walked in at 9 with a headache. He left at 5. At 5, yeah. What kind of headache was it? Why? Like, because basically you're looking at about an hour or two to manage a headache. Okay. Yeah. So the efficiency that we create with these products comes at a cost. Cloud storage, data warehousing, and you're now imposing, expanding the VAT Act to to pull more tax from that. Actually, we shall get there shortly about that, the taxation of digital companies. Maybe, according to your observation, if you take a look at the ICT sector in Uganda, what are those linkages that you feel like are affecting the value chain of the sector that probably once they are put together in this budget, probably with the allocated, because I want to look at priorities, because like what you said, what was allocated was not enough. You as a private player, what is your opinion in terms of priorities which should be focused on in this financial year 2023-2024? Okay, I think government priorities were a bit clear and straight, and to in a way align myself with them. However, my point of divergence is on how well they expect these priorities to perform, without creating a single body across all these sectors. For example, single body, like a single body, like a single moving part. For example, ICT, like I mentioned, is a big player. And I'm not only saying this because I am a player in the ICT sector, but it's a big player. Definitely. When you go to, for example, PDM, PDM was allocated 1.1 trillion. I think it's a strategy that could work when well managed. But then, I think by design, the PDM is going to be sending money to parishes and things like that. So when the money gets to the parish, how is it managed? How is it managed? Exactly. So if you create a single body where every player has a point of login, a point of reporting, a point of login into, it could be a government system, it could be anything. But let there be a point of a point of convergence on all these bodies. Let there be, for example, in the very PDM I'm giving you as an example. Yes. If you send money to the parish, how does the parish leader, any leader, or the councillors at the local level, do they know how much was released? Okay. And when they confirm that it's actually what was released, how are they using it? Do you know what every person in that group got? Do you know what was used for that money? at the top here, and that's where ICT comes in. That's where probably maybe sectors like security, which I also saw get decent budgets, and defense, maybe that's where they also come in. The priorities of the government, the biggest allocation, by the way, biggest allocation is still on security. Of course, with all the threats coming up here and there now, you would see how reasonable that is. But there are so many other sectors that are getting big monies, and the impact really is not
feeling it. Actually, putting aside the government's priorities, you as a private player, what would you think could be channeled? Where these funds should be channeled, in your opinion?
Okay, for as a player, of course, both as an individual and a part of a company that plays rigorously in this sector. One, we have a very youthful population, very, very youthful.
True.
And that means if you're going to release money into the market, into the economy, you're going to want to first consider, where are these people?
The youth,
Yeah, where are they? Like in this economy, where do they play most?
Okay.
Do you want these youth to all resort to, I'm not saying TikTok is bad, but do you want all of them to resort to TikTok and spend the day creating videos? In the long run, what do you want to achieve with this population? So I would look at areas that empower this population. Trade and industry, for example, would be my first point, would be my first
trade and industry
area where, trade and industry, I would be looking at that. I want to make as many of them engaged in the trade sector as possible. I want, if for example, if I'm looking at some of them being in agriculture, the different value chains they are in. Who is in coffee, who is in maize, who is in...
Actually, there are also applications which have been developed which are relating to serving agriculture.
Exactly. How well am I funding this population? Because ultimately, if you look at China, for example, China is one of the countries that have leveraged their population to foster growth. So if I have a population that I'm looking at as, in a way, there are leaders that are looking at this population as a burden.
Very true.
Exactly. So instead of looking at it as a burden, I channel my lenses, I switch to the other side and look at it as an asset instead of a liability.
A liability,
I would look at putting money into this youth, whichever sector they are in. And mostly my focus would be on trade and industry, and then agriculture, because I want them to play there. Thinking traditionally, we thought agriculture was get a hoe, go to the garden, that. But the world has evolved so much, and agriculture has grown to a point where, for example, in the villages, you don't need to grab a hoe. Just get a group of people, put them together, plow a garden or hire a tractor or whatever it is. Then that is your involvement in agriculture. That's what so many youth are doing. But how are they being supported? If I get, for example, 5 million from wherever I've got it and I've struggled to put it together, and I go into, for example, maize, at the end of the season, if things don't work out, is there a recovery fund that I can run to and get maybe 3 million to start me off in the next season? That is what I'm looking at. And when you look at this budget that was passed, that kind of funding is not forthcoming, really.
For sure.
Yeah, there are a lot of gaps. So my priority would be those youth, and the youth, of course, are involved in technology. So trade and industry.
Now, looking at the part of technology, what kind of technology do you think the funds could be appropriate? Because we have, like you mentioned, we have AI, we have fintech and all that. To you, what sector is that? What branch of ICT that you think really needs ultimate investment with this little money that was allocated, particularly for IT?
Thank you. So, one, the money that was allocated in ICT, I believe in one, infrastructure is key.
IT infrastructure.
Before you do anything, infrastructure is key. I was happy that during the budget speech, the minister mentioned we've so far reached about 4,700 kilometers of fiber optic cable.
Fiber optic, yes.
I wish it could be more. I want it to be, I want the ICT, I want the fiber optic cable to reach every single place in this country. Hard to achieve, but I know we shall get there.
We shall get it.
If we can get more than this 4,700 or what, the figure was around there. If I can get more than that, then I know there is internet access.
Internet access.
Decent internet access to every person out there. That's a good start. Infrastructure is key. But aside from infrastructure, we also need support, especially for startups. Yeah, because companies that have been here for 20, 30 years, they swam in these murky waters, they found their way, and now they've found a bit of stability. The mid-level players, those ones also are trying to tussle it out with the different players and struggling their way in the economy. So they'll find a way. Yeah, you can support them, but let the first area be startups. Yeah. We are a company that is 6 years old. Looking back at the 6 years that we've worked, I can tell you nothing was easy.
And actually, your story is shared with all ICT companies. Probably have this the same story in there. Maybe don't you think there is also need for subsidies for IT companies relating on the environment where they're working on? That why should they be surviving on donations all the time, whereby these subsidies can enhance productivity and the companies can sustain themselves?
That is true. The need for subsidies is very evident. It is there. People need, like these companies need these subsidies.
Yeah.
But even before the subsidies, because the government could say maybe there is no budget to fund these subsidies and all that. Before we get to that point, as a startup, I'm 1 year, I'm 2 years, I'm less than 5 years. Why would you really stiff for me to the point of collecting the little
that I've got?
Taxes?
Yes, exactly.
If I can, because we see foreign companies come here, they put facilities out there. We have industrial parks and they are known. They come in here, they get land, they get tax holidays and all that.
Yeah.
Of course, now there is an amendment in those laws to ensure they are given out very carefully. But at least now, for them, they can already get them carefully. For us, ICT companies and many other players in the sector, there is a lot of taxation, even for a company that is 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, if we could look at a way of managing our expectations in terms of tax as a government, let's say this one is 1 year, this one is 2 years.
Exactly.
Let's look at a way of carefully managing our expectations such that we do not stifle this growing company. I think that would be a very nice approach. And then after that, we can now look at the subsidies, which I think the government can find funds for if the spirit is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. You're still watching Smart Men's Business, your daily Kickstarter. Mount Juba region, definitely. We are discussing budget allocation for ICT, getting to understand what are those aspects of the sector that is within the value chain that need to be linked together, those loopholes that are into the system. And of course, I'm with Darius Motasi. He's the business development manager of Naxoft Technologies, breaking us down these factors. Him being a private player, giving it from the mindset of the private players, from the perspective of how best actually the government can allocate these funds. But before we get into the break, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform, which I've already opened as I speak right now. Star 292 hash is simply the USSD code for you there, and you'll be available with a number of options where you will be able to buy government bonds and securities for as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now the markets open at 8:15 a.m. Closing at 3:15 p.m. East African time, and this is effective Monday up to Friday, except on the weekends of the public holidays when these markets can be accessed. But despite the fact you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself quite significant profit, something which I believe is very key and influential for your personal growth and development. You don't need any paperwork. Get your mobile phone, with a smartphone, with a button phone. Star 292 hash is the code for you, and everything will be history as you will be able to trade government bonds and securities at a minimum price of 15,000. Now, Zabo simply says, my money, my future. And Double Texas East Africa says, do something new for yourself come the year 2023. Well, right now, let's get into the break, and I'll be returning with Darius Motasi for further discussions in relations to the budget allocation for the ICT.
Smart 24, driving business.
And in talking news, MTN has improved on their data voice bundles. You can now call across all networks for the same price. We've talked to several eyewitnesses on the ground, and this is what one of them had to say. Amos, did you hear about the MTN daily voice bundles? So, to join many more other Ugandans enjoying these MTN daily voice bundles, dial *100 *21# or use the My MTN app to start enjoying. Stay tuned for more offers from MTN.
It's our mission to secure your money.
Protecting your money is as important as earning it. It is for this reason that the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, DPF, was established by the government of Uganda to provide deposit protection to customers of regulated financial institutions. In the unlikely event that your commercial bank, credit institution, or microfinance deposit-taking institution fails, the DPF will pay you up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Keep your personal information such as national identification number, mobile phone, or an alternative bank account updated with your banker. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, contact DPF at Aha Towers, Plot 7 Lodell Road, Kampala. Call 0312-206-400 or visit our website at www.dpf.or.ug.
We are the DPF. We protect your money. Protection Fund of Uganda.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest. Smart 24, driving business.
We'll be back from the break. Still watching Smart Men's Business, your daily Kickstarter. It's 31 minutes to the top of the hour. Actually, it's 9:29. As of course, we're heading into the last minutes of the show, wrapping this up. I'm Andrew Barigi, and of course, with my guest this morning, that is Darius Motasi, as we're discussing the budget allocations. But of course, before we get to proceed, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform, which are already on. *292# is the code for you, which will avail you with a number of options to be able to buy bonds and securities for as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. As I speak right now, the markets have already opened. Yes, the markets have already opened. *292# is simply the code. 15,000 Ugandan shillings. You'll be able to buy government bonds and securities. And now this is going to be effective Monday up to Friday, 8:15 a.m. till 3:15 p.m. Monday up to Friday, except on the weekends and the public holidays when these markets are inaccessible. But well, despite the fact you have all the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself quite some huge money, regardless of how listed it could be. But it's way so amazing for you as a trader, and you take off time to understand how the bonds work. You don't need any paperwork here. Simply your mobile phone, whether button phone, smartphone, *292#, and the rest will be working out automatically for you there. Now, Zabo made this a reality. There is no excuse for not owning securities in such a time, the 21st century. Now, Zabo says, "Buy money, my future." And Autotex East Africa says, "Do something new." Well, of course, right now as we proceed here, Mr. Darius, let's talk about, because I know the Ghana Revenue Authority has been given a target in terms of funding, part of the budget. And of course, as a revenue authority, if you're given certain targets, you have to widen the tax base, finding ways to levy taxes. And now on the ICT sector, there is a proposed aspect of digital taxation. Facebook, Google, they will have to remit VAT. What does that leave for the sector in your observation, and how is it going to affect you, the players that are in there?
Yeah, well, I think I've had a fair share of, we've had a fair share of bad news as the ICT sector over the past few months, but I think this is by far the worst or the most hard-hitting.
Yeah.
Because when you look at, for example, the URA is, not just URA, the country's revenue mobilization strategy. When you look at what the minister communicated as the resource revenue mobilization strategy, they highlight ICT as a key tool. They say, we are going to use ICT to curb tax evasion.
Yeah,
and many other
exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yes. So you know the strength of ICT. And you're saying it's a big tool, it's a big aid in what you intend to achieve. So one would say you don't hit them so hard. But then they amended the VAT Act, like I mentioned earlier. They are amending the VAT Act to require remote providers who sell services to Uganda to remit VAT on the services they sold here. Now, what that basically means is that if you have a service that was going for 100,000, you're going to be paying 118,000. Because I do not know of a company that is going to revise their revenue collection strategy to accommodate your tax. They're just going to maintain their revenue collection strategy and then just batch the other tax onto your invoice and send it to you.
Send it to you, definitely.
That means if I was paying 200,000 for a service, now I'm going to be expected to pay 236,000 for that service. And that is with the exception, that is for normal services. If, for example, one qualifies for withholding tax, which in this case is, I think, from the minister's speech, it was about 10% on such services. You're looking at 28% tax on each of these. That means if it was 100, paying 128. If it was 200, I'm paying 256. Same company, same resources, same services. But because of I wouldn't call it appetite, but the strategy that we are taking to collect taxes, we are harming our own companies. Because none of those companies, not Google, not Facebook, not YouTube, none of them is going to adjust, their pricing to accommodate this tax. They're going to maintain their pricing and you still pay that money with the tax. And then one of the other things also, besides requiring foreign companies to remit VAT, they are also expanding the scope of electronic services on which VAT can be levied. Now this time they introduced the services that were mentioned: advertising platforms, streaming platforms, cloud storage, data warehousing, and like I mentioned earlier, as a company that provides cloud services, you see how the colossal impact that is going to have on us. It is going to affect us deeply, and in the long run, I feel like if it is not reviewed maybe over the next year or something, it could prove self-injurious at some point. It could prove suicidal for our ICT, for our growing ICT
sector.
Now the direct impact of that, because we are now looking at the money. We are now looking at the money where I was supposed to pay 100 and now I'm paying 118,000. However, the more direct impact is that the resources that I had on the side that could allow me to hire a developer, to hire a marketing agent, those resources are not going to be available. And that means, one, my approach to deliver services to the final consumer is affected. Because I don't have someone to market these products to get there. But also, there is the person that I was supposed to hire that is sitting at home. So those, one would say they are indirect, but in this case they are very direct.
Very direct.
They are very direct.
So some people are going to lose jobs. I mean, unemployment.
There is that likelihood of course, it's not so big that you're going to say, hey, 100 people have lost jobs because of this tax. But even if it's 2, those are 2 families.
2 families, exactly.
Exactly. So the attention that we need in this is maybe over the next year, this can be reviewed and we say, okay, yes, we want to collect tax from these areas. Is there a way that we can maybe have a thorough study of their pricing and implement the tax or implement this strategy in a way that does not affect the company that is paying this money here? Because you're looking at the unemployment bit, but my focus is actually on my service or product that is not getting into the market. Because I would have collected, maybe if I have a marketing agent and they, for example, with the school monitor product, school monitor, if I have a marketing agent and they hit 3 schools and they have a chance of maybe closing one, and that one maybe pays a decent annual subscription, you're going to have you're going to collect your 18% on this annual subscription. And in this case, you have the chance to collect it on more than one that this marketing agent is likely to close instead of just looking at the other provider. So ultimately, that is where the whole mathematics happens. Yeah.
But you mentioned something that you can't adjust your pricing policy based on the tax.
Yeah.
Don't you think if nothing is adjustable, because sometimes, of course, the prices of the product, there is a tax attached to that. Do you think it's also necessary for the ICT companies to adjust a little bit in the pricing due to because I'm talking, it would be sad for me to hear that companies are closing down.
Exactly. So locally we can do that. Locally we can do that, and actually it's what we are doing. We are taking a price adjustment strategy in some of these areas. However, now this tax is not focusing on us. They are requiring Google, Facebook, YouTube, and the likes, Instagram, where you do your advertising, to be the ones to collect this tax, to report this VAT. That means Instagram, if you're adding $5, they're not going to say, okay, now because of this tax, let's adjust the ad to $3.8. No. They are not going to say, oh, hey, the advert is now coming at $2.50. No, they are maintaining their pricing. So that is where the biggest problem is. That locally we can adjust pricing, but I'll give you an example. If you look at the rich list right now, the Forbes list.
The Forbes list.
The top 10 billionaires, you look at owners of Facebook, Microsoft, and the likes. They didn't get there by adjusting their pricing in these other countries. They have a robust marketing strategy, and pricing is a key element of that. So that means Facebook is not going to adjust their pricing just because you slapped a tax on them. They're going to transfer it to whoever is consuming the service. And that is we, the Ugandans. We are the ones going to pay this money, the local providers, the local players who are using these services. We're going to have to remit this money.
Okay.
Yeah, and ultimately that means you're seeing you're shooting at someone else, but I feel the pain.
You feel the pain. You're shooting somebody else. So that is that really what the Fed calls for? We're talking about the ICT sector and, of course, the possible budget allocations. Maybe, Mr. Darius, if we could benchmark a little bit from our East African neighbors, taking a look at their ICT sectors and how they are being funded and established. Yeah. What advice would you give to government in relation to that? And what country in particular do you, okay, of course Kenya I know is the most outstanding aspect. Yeah. And in what way could you advise government to benchmark right policies to influence ICT?
Okay, that's a good one. One, Kenya, of course, like you mentioned, is there, but also one of the other players that we need to look out for is Rwanda.
By the way, Rwanda they're even assembling.
Rwanda is taking a stern approach to growth, to development, leveraging ICT.
Okay.
They are leveraging ICT to foster growth across all their sectors. You've seen videos, and if you've been to any of these places, Kigali or Butare or wherever it is, you've noticed that there's active robotics.
Active robotics.
Yeah, not just in plants and manufacturing. No, there's active robotics on site. And that simply tells you that the basics have been covered. Internet coverage.
Yeah.
The infrastructure to facilitate that.
Internet is fast.
Now Kenya also, why Kenya is better placed to take lessons from is because they are not doing this for consumption. They're selling products out there.
Yes, they're exporting.
Yeah, Kenya is selling ICT services. Okay, we are also trying to do that, but Kenya has created a blueprint that I think we can borrow and make our ICT sector and generally the economy much bigger. Because one, they are empowering local firms. The Kenyan budget, I think, their budget was for ICT.
For ICT.
Their budget for ICT covered, I think, 9.3%.
9.3%. So ICT covered 9.3% of the budget.
Yeah,
you can see.
And this is not directly to their Ministry of Information Technology,
but from various programs.
They do it in technology, they do it in education. For example, now, what I saw in Kenya is they are looking at schools being able to run standard software at different levels.
Okay.
That's their target. Maybe to just draw the picture from our own here. One of the latest advancements in curriculum development in Uganda has been in the lower secondary, at the lower secondary level, where they introduced a competency-based curriculum. What that means is, like how it operates is, you do what? You join a school, you start doing activities. They get basically on activities and assignments. They do not have a standard end of term exam or something. Okay, some schools are running a hybrid, doing both, but the UNEB standard is that they have activities. Yeah. So once these are done, at senior 2, you cannot change the school.
Okay, at senior 2.
Okay, you can change, but you're going to be required to move with your results for the activities that you already did in the previous school.
Oh.
Now, the lack of a system to standardize these activities is a big problem. Because I'm going to come from school A in Kabale, join school B in Male. They do not share a system where they can report. So I can, I don't want to use the word sweet talk, but I can respectfully ask my teachers on the other side and the school to, if I'm in their good books, I haven't defaulted on fees, the reason for my changing is reasonable, maybe my parent is a public servant that has been transferred to Bali, so they'll give me results. The scores they'll give me, this new school will adopt them because they do not know what I did in the other school. So the lack of a system to monitor all this at once is a big problem. Kenya has taken interest in that. They know we have different curricula at different levels. If we can have a single platform where we can monitor school A, school B, regardless of their location, and the progress of the students, that is okay.
Okay.
We've achieved that with School Monitor. If you're in a school that runs School Monitor and you move to another school that runs School Monitor, it's a simple communication. Could have your results posted. The results posted on the other side.
Well, that's very remarkable in there.
So that's a big challenge for the country to copy from
Kenya.
Players like Kenya. That is in the education sector.
Yeah.
Health sector requires the same approach. If I'm getting treatment from, let's say, Chitovu in Masaka, and for some reason I'm transferred to the National Referral Hospital, Mulago here. When I come, I really don't need to carry all these files and documents. If the doctors can have a simple dashboard where they log in and they see my patient history, it would be okay.
Okay.
So Kenya is taking an approach in health, education, and the likes to have a centralized database for all these. I think it was a good, the National Security Information System was a good start. The National ID system. That was a good start. We now have data. We have a clear database for all our nationals. So we can rely on that. We can leverage that to create systems that are comprehensive across sectors.
Okay.
Yeah, but Kenya is already doing that.
Kenya is already doing that.
So for locally consumed ICT services, Kenya has set a what? Kenya has set a standard. We could copy that. For services being sold out there, Kenya has set that. And then now for ICT players, this is the sweetest one. For ICT players, we are required, for example, if for some reason I had an app and it's not working very well, and I feel like, oh, I think I could get I could liquidate this. In Uganda here, if I'm selling that app, there is a very handsome tax on that.
There is a tax.
Yeah,
tax on
that. When you compare that with Kenya, what Kenya is charging on the same transaction,
it's a little bit. Because they are fostering, of course, the thing. Exactly. That's why they shouldn't.
So the thing is, if I'm selling an app or something here, an IT service, not just selling to the final consumer, but it's like an acquisition. If someone is acquiring my app, the taxes and the cost associated with that in Uganda, when you compare them with Kenya, the picture would be
very ugly.
So what Kenya is achieving in such sectors,
what's the tax?
Is something we could copy.
What's the tax like? Probably, I know there could be somebody that is planning to sell an application.
Okay, for starters, everything you sell, there's an assumption of value addition, so the VAT is going to be there.
Definitely.
That 18% is going to be there. Then, as a director of this app, you sell to another director now, there is a tax on that.
That's another, okay.
So
VAT sell to
there is a number of taxes involved in there.
Okay.
Before you know it, if a transaction is worth 100 million, let's say, you could be looking at parting with 24 million.
You're selling an application of 100, okay, let's put it, assuming I'm selling it at 500 million.
Yes.
I'm parting away with how much?
Close to 100 million or more.
So the rest of the 350
is what's yours. Kenya, on the other hand, is targeting the new owner. For you, they are letting you. Of course, they pick a small something, but they let you start something else.
So they take about 150. You take 350.
Locally, I think
if it's 500 million,
the first 18% is the VAT money. But then the other small taxes that come in and the small charges, you'll get ultimately about 25% of your sale value. 25%? Yeah, of your sale value, 24 to 25% of your sale value. Okay. And that means in Uganda here, 25% of 500 million.
That's about
125.
250?
No, 25%.
No, I know, that would be 125.
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
So that's what you're parting with.
Wow.
Kenya, on the other hand, is focusing on the new player. Integrating them into the system and making sure they sell as much volumes of this product, and they do not have to sell like you've done. But also, they have a consideration that since you've sold, you're going to reinvest in another app. So there is a way the situation is managed differently. Okay. Yeah, you do not part with so much money, so it allows you to invest in something else. Interesting. So those are areas we can benchmark from. Yeah.
They're very interesting. I mean, you almost, if you're selling an application in Uganda to another party, 25% tax is off. So if it's 500 million, 125 million is off. Kenya, it's a different case. Something worth, of course, benchmarking on in the financial 2023-2024. Well, my guest this morning has been Darius Mutasi, Business and Development Manager, that is Nagsoft Technologies, as we've been breaking down the budget allocation for ICT, and also what are the possibilities when we talk about benchmarking in the future, the best way to benchmark. And that is it. For Smart Means Business this morning, I've been Andrew Barije, and of course very grateful from all the way where we started from the news recap till down to this hour as we're winding this up. Channel 372 on DSTV, and channel 320 on GOTV, and we're also available on free to air. And go to your Play Store, download the Smart Digital application, and you will be able to stream at any part you will be at. Could be driving to your workplace, driving away from your workplace, heading back home, You just get a smart digital application, you'll be able to get the right business information. And of course, on our social media handles at Smart24TV on Twitter, Smart24TV official, that's on Facebook, and Smart24TV Live, that's on YouTube. Still here, you'll be able to stream and get us at any part of the country, at any part of the world that you will be at, as we give you the latest live updates in terms in relation to business. And definitely, it's a new week and the last week of the month. Go out there and be productive. Yes, be productive, and well, set your priorities right for this new week. Till tomorrow, a very good morning.